Hello. Hold on. I'm gonna add you. Hey, Kim. Kim to Kim.
Kim squared. I love it.
Yes, Kim
And we're
squared.
not wearing the same color today. I thought we would.
No, I'm still rocking pink though. This is I like pink.
Well, I like the lips. I like the hot red lips.
The red lips. All right. All right. So while people are getting on, I believe the bot is gonna be sent. A bunch of people want to show up for this because I feel like we can get into. First of all, you launched to a Facebook group that is completely new. And another thing is you don't have like a profile funnel all set up or anything like that. And I want to get into your story. But before that, hey guys, if you're just jumping in right now, let me know. I hear a little bit of an echo. Do you hear an echo?
Well, no, I don't.
Okay, hopefully it goes away. Okay. Hey guys, if you're just jumping in, #live, let me know where you're hopping in from. And let me know if you have a Facebook group. If you are a type 2, want to launch to your Facebook group, or you want to monetize from your Facebook group, let me know. All right, so I'm gonna open the comments over here to make sure I see you guys. Hey guys, all right, so today I have a very, very special guest. She's Kimberly Seltzer. She's a dating and relationship expert, and she has her own podcast. She's super cool, and I kind of want to, single women are getting a lot of help from her to getting into relationships, to even getting married, and she's changing all these lives of these women. So I want to get into that first, get into your origin story, Kim, and then we'll talk about how you did $70,000 as your very first launch into a Facebook group that isn't even like 1,000 people. I believe when you started inviting people, it went to 300. And so you don't really need to have this huge Facebook group to do 70K. So that's exciting. That's something that we're going to dive into as well. So before we start, for the rest of my group who don't know who you are, can you give me a little bit of an origin story? Let me know, how did you get into relationship, dating, and coaching for dating and relationships?
I mean, how long do we got? Because I got stories. I got stories, and to be honest, and I'll try to make a shorter version because we're not exactly talking about love and dating on here, but I think it does pertain to how I got here in my business, because let me tell you, it always is like your own story, your own adversity that sometimes pushes you into helping others, doing what you do. And that certainly was the case with me. I mean, the truth be told, I had a very different life. And this, actually, I want to mention this, as my business life and my personal life was very different about, oh my gosh, now we're going back like 20 years. Okay. I was a good girl from Chicago. I lived a very traditional life. I practiced as a therapist in a traditional sense for many, many years, like over 10 years, and in different settings and whatnot. And I collected, my $30,000 a year job paycheck, like it was, and very, for me, I thought that was my trajectory. Like I thought that was kind of good for a therapist, collecting $30,000 to $40,000 a year. And what happened from this beautiful little, traditional life with the picket fence and a couple of kids and the husband, we all pick up and we move here to La La Land. And I joke, we get here and we do what all the other people here do. We get a divorce, and I'm just joking.
Oh, no.
Obviously, there were like issues. You see where the story's going. I mean, obviously, it wasn't just that. There were issues with this little fairy tale. But I think what happened is, when we landed here in this new foreign land, everything came to the surface. And with that, I had to figure out what I was going to do with my new life. I mean, first of all, there was no way at that moment in my life that I was going to be a good therapist. Because if anyone had come to me and asked me for advice, let me go on the couch for a second. Let me share with you like my issues. And I could not help myself, let alone other people. And that's where, it was kind of like that moment in your life where the record stops. And I looked ahead of me and I had two paths to take. I could go down a road where I could reinvent myself and learn how to do something different. And then there was the dark path. And I have to be honest, I was going down the dark path. I had done a lot of work on myself. I actually, in the past, up until that moment, I believed in working from the inside out, thinking that was kind of the ticket. Like you really had to do all this internal work in order to, attract something different, anything, whether it's love or money, but nothing was happening. Like I just was so stuck. And then on top of it all, I call it my black period because I looked in the mirror and all I was wearing was black. Like, and this actually is really important part of my story is I was horrified at what I saw. I saw this really sad, frumpy woman with oversized black clothes. And when I looked in my closet, everything was black and hiding me from the world. I still had my nursing bras on and I wasn't nursing any longer. I mean, it really shows you how stuck I was. So one day, as I was still in that dark period, I remember waking up and looking in the mirror and just being horrified at what I saw. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have to do something different. And I share this with people too. And this pertains to business, like when you're doing something over and over again and you're expecting a different result, you all know that that's the definition of insanity. And I was literally at that point. And so what did I do? I went shopping. This is where it all happened. And Kim, you kind of know this of me. Like I'm always in like, colorful dresses. We talked about this. Well, I had no color in my closet up until then. And so I go shopping and I think I'm going to up level myself. And no, what do? I'm pulling all the black clothes again, but I think I'm doing something different because it's new. They were all like the wrong size. And again, it was just my cloak to keep me invisible from the world. And so this personal shopper, she came up to me and she said, "Ma'am, I think you should try this on." And she holds up this red dress that looked like 3 sizes too small. I said, "That's really sweet of you, but that's not my size. And that's really not my color." She said, "Honey, that is your size. That is your color. Try it on." And honestly, like it was that moment, I call it my red dress moment, where it was like hit over the head with that dress. And I said, you know what? She's right. I need to do something different. So I slipped it on. I twirled around like Cinderella. I look in the mirror and I was like, bam. I just like, I saw myself different. And there was this visceral response that was going on when I saw something different. I'm like, wow, you know what? I'm going to buy that dress. I'm going to walk out into the world and I'm just going to see what happens. And all this magic, like all the things you see in my bio and everything just started happening to me because I started seeing myself different. And I realized there was a symbiotic relationship between the outer and the inner when it comes to confidence and attraction. And so that's where kind of like it all started. And as I was going down my yellow brick road, I just kind of collected tools in my basket. And along that path was learning how to do business because up until now, I just was given a paycheck to help people. Like and insurance covered a lot of it. So I didn't know anything about charging money to help people. I thought that was horrific. And so, I really had a hard time with this whole notion of me being that valuable. Right. And charging people money. And it's been a long road. I've been in business for now, over, I would say 15 years and plus being a therapist for over 10. So I'm an old lady basically, and I've been around for a while. But what was frustrating to me is that I didn't have like a structure, and I certainly learned over the years on different things that work and didn't work. And you have to constantly work, right? And that's with relationships too. And so as I was going through my personal journey, I was also helping others.
I want to interrupt you just for a second to kind of speak on what you just said.
Yeah.
We'll go past it. you said that you felt horrible, this notion that you are that valuable, that you would charge that much to help people. And I want to speak on that because we kind of take that for granted. We're like, who are we to charge this much? Because there's so much trauma around money. Like growing up, just because you're thrust into a job and someone's telling you, hey, you're worth this much an hour. And then we're used to that for so long. Now it's like, oh, I'm going to charge this much. And wait, what? It kind of conflicts with your brain. So I kind of want to also speak into how you got over that. But hey, Larlin, hey guys, if you guys are jumping in, I see you guys. Let me know, #live, if you are invested in growing your group, if you're invested in breaking through and being able to charge what you're worth, then let me know in the comments. But go ahead, Kim. I'm going to interrupt you sometimes to
please do, because I'll just keep talking. That's why I have a podcast, because then I could just talk forever. Yeah, but I wanted to mention that before I dove into like, now what do I do for a living and how I help people now, is that it was that personal journey, because how you view yourself, your self-worth, is directly correlated to what you attract. And that is love, that's money, that is opportunity. And I realized again that there was so much power in movement. And so putting on a red dress, walking through the world, working on your body language, your first impressions, how you manage interpersonal relationships, those are such crucial moments and ways of action that thrust people into change. And so this is what I do now. Like, instead of working from the inside out, I actually work from the outside in. And I start from the outside with people's what I call style intelligence. And then I go inward and work on emotional intelligence, and then taking it to the streets. And yes, that includes flirting with your social intelligence. And so my business now is really kind of transformed into, well, obviously right now I service people virtually mostly, but before that I would do like in-person wing gal sessions. I take people shopping, and I do the therapy and the coaching. So I kind of have this holistic, approach. And the other thing is that I actually work, I know that the launch was catered towards women, but I actually work with men as well. And for me, I love that because I get both perspectives. But it was such a transformative, I'd say, experience, both in business and love for myself. Like, as I got out into the world dating myself, and also, learning how to do business, it almost went hand in hand. And that's why I feel like all the skills that I teach people now work with both love and business. And when I found you, Kim, I was just so excited. And I just want to give, like, just for all of you listening, this woman over here, or no, it's the opposite, the way that over here, because I'm looking at it, obviously, okay, blonde hair, I'm a little bopper. No, this woman over here, what impressed me about you, because up until now, so many of like the coaching programs and things that I was learning was either by proxy or just like networking like crazy, try to like replicate what other people were doing. I've had other like coaches and stuff like that. But what was missing is just like the hands-on operational stuff that you are so ninja at, that you're so good at. And I relate to it because that's what I do for people in their dating life. Like, I'll go into people's Bumble accounts and look at their conversations, and that's what I really appreciate about you, because you really break things down. And it was so helpful for me to conceptualize what the challenge even looked like, because there's a ton of people who say, oh, do a challenge, but there's not many people who actually walk you through step by step like you do. So anyway, I just want to mention that.
Thank you for that shout out. I want to now get into what was your coaching look like before you did this format of launching specifically to a Facebook group? I know you have a podcast. You were kind of having people book calls with you through a podcast. You're doing a lot of one-on-one work.
Yeah.
You were doing a lot of group coaching work, type of scaling type of work before. But now with a Facebook group, how did that change the landscape of not only the way that you show up, but also your income and your coaching program itself? How did that morph everything for you?
I mean, it's been a game changer because, and I think I even mentioned this in our group coaching calls, is that the challenge was the glue to all this other stuff that I've been doing, right? Like I have been doing, one-on-one coaching. I actually did have a group program. I've had a Facebook group. I do have a podcast. I have all of these kinds of services, and I just couldn't figure out, it was like a puzzle to me. How can I use everything that I do and that I know and all the audience that I have? And I have an email list too. Like that was definitely part of the picture. How do I bring it all together in one hub where I can really like nurture and service people in a way that they really understand and get like how I can help them? Because, up until now, maybe I'll do a webinar here and there, or, and people who listen to my podcast, they're definitely warm leads. So I'm probably get the most, breakthrough calls from my podcast, but they haven't seen me. Like there was something really magical about doing these lives with them because they've been listening to me and, like in their ear forever. And then they see me on the screen, and there was something like it brought everything together. So,
So I kind of want to stop you there. I want to highlight something that you said. So, hey, Amberlyn. Hey, Alan. Hey, Larlyn. Hey, guys. So what she said that was really important, and what we wanted to achieve as well inside the coaching program is we want you to be able to take the things that are scattered all over the place and put it in one location where, like you said, is the glue that will allow you to be more seen, as well as already you're being heard through the podcast, but now it's a place where they can meet each other, they can collaborate, and then they can say yes to you in that type of community level yes, versus them being solo, listening to you in their ear, one-on-one kind of journey. So if you have a bunch of scattered programs, this method is just a great way to just pull it all into one place, and also be able to know that now your calendar for the rest of the year, instead of a webinar here, a thing there, oh, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do this, then it's like, okay, I can do a steady launch every 6 to 8 weeks and be able to pull in. This time is 70,000, but our next goal for next time is going to be breaking 100,000.
Oh my gosh, Kim, I hope so. You have to hold my hand. Like I get so worried. I'm like, can I do it again? But now that, I know I can because I have Kim here to help me. But there's another thing I want to mention that was another advantage that came out of this whole process organically is any of you who are doing like coaching programs where a lot of the clients just need that like little push of motivation and inspiration, the group think and the group influence was so powerful in the challenge, because to your point, someone can just listen passively to a podcast, but there's no one like, pushing them to that next stage. And when you see all these other people saying, oh, I just joined Kim's program, or, getting excited, it motivates everybody else, much like a live event does. So again, just the power of the group dynamic was incredible to watch.
Oh yeah, it mimics kind of like when you go to a live event and then the speakers like, stand up if you're willing to commit to yourself, stand up if you're willing to do this, if you want to change your life. And then they stand up and then they walk to the back of the room to, sign. It's the equivalent of that ish.
It is. No, it totally is.
Standing up and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do that too. So sorry about the dog barking.
I think he wants to come on and say hi.
He's downstairs. But it's that. So the things that are really effective in terms of live events, components of that can be brought into the Facebook group and the Facebook launch environment. Man, the dog is going nuts. But I want you to continue your story. So now it's like you are. So what happened during your 5-day launch? What are the things that you felt, okay, this is I did this and it led to that. Like being able to do $70,000 in a launch, although it might sound a lot, I want to remind everyone that that is around 11 or 12 people, maybe in the entire world, that out of the thousands and thousands that would listen to Kim or the hundreds that did show up to the live, it's a handful of people that she could serve more closely, but it's still a handful. So that is still around like a dozen plus people that she's serving. So right. I want you to speak to that. Like, what did you do during your launch that helped bring everything together and have your people say yes to your offer?
Okay, so there were a couple of things. I was thinking about this too, like what worked, right? Like compared to things that I've done in the past, like just a webinar or a one-off kind of thing. I think the first thing was I really enjoyed having a plan for myself, because one of the things that I find, and I know a lot of people find frustrating, is, you know, how often do I go live and what do I do in my groups? Like, I liked having a plan and a purpose and a journey to take people through. It just, like, for me, it made sense from a teaching standpoint. And what I did, like each day I did go live, I would go for about an hour each day. I did have a PowerPoint with it. Now, I was lucky enough to have a lot of content beforehand. So it was, for me, just literally breaking it up into 5 days to keep it simple. I tend to over deliver. I mean, that's actually one of my problems, is that I usually I end up like giving so much away that then they're like, okay, I'm good, you know, afterwards. But I think the format of the challenge forced me to pull back that, because, another thing I want to add is that before you, Kim, I had done challenges. I've done like 14-day challenge, and the model that I followed was to charge $47 for a 14-day event.
Oh no.
Yeah, because that was the model that's all I knew. And but I didn't know this model that you taught. And actually, I have to say, without even marketing it, I got like 40 women in there just from my email list. So like I hardly even, and I'm like, oh, wow, that was so easy. And the women loved it. But the problem was I gave them too much. Like, it was almost like they went through an entire program with me and they're like, thanks, Kim, see ya, you know? And the 5 days, it's almost like foreplay. It's almost like teaser. Well, I'm in the dating industry. Of course, I'm going to say that. It's like a teaser into something where they feel how you can help them and your knowledge. But what you did so well at that helped me is giving like examples of like how much is too much, and then kind of like hitting the pain points, and then like where to sell, like what day. So I basically followed your format. You know, I had 3 teaching things that I did within the thing. Oh, by the way, my theme was flirting. So obviously it's a fun topic. So I called it the Flirt Accelerator, and I had 3 ingredients within the flirting, and each day I focused on that. And then I did have homework assignments, but I just pulled from my previous challenge, and I just like took one thing, which also made it so much simpler. And the women still loved it, you know, and they felt like it was something they could still do. And I did post, I think maybe once, like in addition to the live, so that I could see like who was engaging, who was posting. And a lot of my homework assignments required them to post things. So that also helped engagement. I mean, you know, one of the things that I do is that I have people post pictures of themselves in like a sexy pose. So, you know, now we're seeing visual. I do think that helped a lot too, because now we're seeing like real people and engagement rather than just like statements from people. It became more like live, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. And
do you know?
Yeah, I do know. Like they see each other even more.
Exactly.
To you, see you, and then seeing each other visually even more. What you said earlier, I want to speak to that. You said that, I already have a bunch of like material from my live launch, and I only took like bits and pieces, like one thing from it. And what I want to say to those who are listening is, know that you, even if you don't have like launch stuff beforehand, know that you're already an expert in the field that you're in. So conjuring up the material is already in your head. So even if you don't have a bunch, do you feel confident, Kim, that even if you didn't have like materials already created, that you can create like the simple material for them to go through on a day-to-day basis, even if it's like a few things that they're learning?
Oh my God, yes. Can I just speak to that? Because that was part of my little like yellow brick road moments and things that I collected in my basket. Because when you're a new entrepreneur, there's this like perfectionistic thing that goes on a lot. And I remember doing that. Like, I can't launch or I can't do this until, you know, that syndrome, I'll wait until. And what I want to say about that is that having a 5-day challenge will actually like put a fire under your butt to just do it, to just get all that stuff out there. And so even that I had the material, I still had to start back then and do something, right? Like, no matter where you start, you had to start somewhere. So for me, this was easier. Like, I almost wish I started with a 5-day so that, you know, because I had made so much material before that now I don't even know what to do with. So absolutely, anyone can start.
Yeah. And so all right, so you assign homework. Let's talk about what you did right, which is the telling them to go and post pictures of themselves, sexy pictures, so they see each other. What other things do you feel like you did right? But we'll also talk about what do you feel like you did wrong, which is you said too much, just give away too much sometimes. And go into that. Let's talk about what worked for you and what didn't work for your 5-day challenge.
Yeah. And so the other things that I felt worked really well, and again, this was like your format and suggestion, is I had 3 testimonials, 3 success stories come in different ways. So I had one who was currently in my group program, and she spoke to how it changed her life, right? And then these were all bonuses at the end. And so that was another thing that was new to me, Kim. Like, I thought 5-day challenge was just the 5 days. I didn't know that, like, you know, you kind of keep reeling them in through the weekend with doing all these bonuses. And you do that so much. Like, you're always giving away all that stuff. And like, on a receiving mode, like, that feels really good. It's like, oh my gosh, she's giving me more. And it keeps them engaged, even if they're on the fence. So I think the timing of that is so smart, where you have those bonus sessions throughout the weekend, because that's where a lot of people have downtime. And if they're on the fence, they're going to really listen. And then my second testimonial was actually a guy who I worked with, who's a guy success story. To hear from the opposite sex that they have the same problems and how I even helped them get over it. You know, they were all amazed. Like, oh, you mean guys have problems too? It's just so funny. Like, each gender always thinks that we're so different. We're not. And then I ended it with a woman who got engaged and then married during COVID. So I just hit them at all angle. And then I want to say, and this could be, you know, you listening, anything that you might have that speak to people's pain points. I happen to have an audio course that goes over like these 5 dating archetypes. And those archetypes are actually each pain point. They're my avatars. And I feel like that drove everything home, because I had them take the quiz. I went over all my archetypes. And it's funny because I could hear on the sales call, the first thing that they would say to me, oh my God, so I am the chief. You know, like, they'll label, they're already using my language. It's like I hardly had to sell them because they already diagnosed themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I would highly recommend, if there's something that you know that your clients really, really need in their pain point, just like on your bonus day, speak to that so that you can really like make them think that, yeah, they need your service. So
well, it makes them know that you know them. You know,
right.
Like, what type of people they are that you serve so clearly. So it's like, oh wow, she gets me, she understands me. And for my other challenge, I say stuff like Digital Dan, and and if you're Digital Dan, let me know you're Digital Dan, or you're organic Owen, let me know. And for you, it's like the chief, and So people are like, oh yeah, that's me. And the format itself, it helps your people kind of have that clarity that they are who you serve, and so they can go and say yes to you more easily. But continue. So
Yes.
that worked, giving them archetypes. And then what else did you do during, so you took the time to speak to the pain points during the weekend when people have downtime. Now, when it comes to asking for enrollment, what did you end up doing correct, or that enabled people to say yes to your offer?
Well, I've had enough experience to know about seeding. So I mean, and I've learned this in other formats, but I didn't know quite like where and when and how. And that also really helped me, Kim, when you were saying, okay, you know, usually you start pitching at day 4, day 5, you know, and then you start planting seeds, and then you do kind of the soft sell, then you do like a further one. So I did on day 4 where I introduced the program. And then I did it softly again on, you know, day 5. And then I just kept mentioning it. And then I would like, I'm a big storyteller. So I would say that that's another just kind of thing that worked that I just do organically. As you can tell, I can go on and on about it, but I like talking in stories. So I would just, anytime I would talk about something, I would talk about somebody who overcame, you know, an obstacle, a challenge that I knew that the women were having. And, you know, what's also nice about the challenge is as people are commenting, you can see what people are struggling with, you know, and how they comment on each other. Oh my gosh, me too. And so that was the other thing that I didn't realize is that you can still plan as you go. Like I had it in my mind that I thought I had to have everything structured. Truth be told, like, I was doing stuff the night before to get them ready for the next day because I'm like, I need to pivot and I need to also speak to what they're really talking about. And in my mind, I didn't know that that's what they're wanting because each group that you attract, they may have like different messages and that kind of thing. So that was also helpful. And then the other thing I'll say is that on the sales call, I always started with asking, you know, what did they get from the challenge? Like what really hit them? Because that you always want to start with really like what prompted them on the call, because that's where their pain point is. And that can be the conversion for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I like, what inspired you to actually book a call with me? What was that? What inspired you? And then they said, oh, in the challenge, you mentioned this, or I have been following you for a while and I have been waiting and waiting, and I feel like the time is right for me now. So it makes it a lot easier. You did some things that were different than what I recommended, and it still worked, which is closing the cart. You left the cart open. How did you transition over to, okay, the cart is closing, and then, okay, it's not really closing? Like how, like for those of you who are watching, first of all, she mentioned something really important. Number 1, you can pivot during the middle of the challenge.
Yeah.
Fit what the conversations the people are having so that you can talk to them directly, kind of like addressing the times, especially, you know, during the middle of a pandemic. We kind of want to have more language that talks to these changing times. So if they happen to have conversations like that, then the next day you could say, you know what, this is exactly for you because blah, blah, blah. Because you did that before, the day before. But you did something a little bit differently. And can you go into how did you transition over to not only selling during that time, but continual sales as the weeks go by?
Well, you know, I did say what when I presented the group program on day 4, and then I reiterated on day 5, I didn't really say that the cart was closing at that time. I just said, guess what? I said, I'm just loving this so much. And it was true. Like I truly was enjoying this whole process, that I wanted to give them more value, and I had some surprises for them. And that's where like I introduced the bonus stuff, and I just kept, seeding it each day. And then I would say, like, when I would have new members join and be like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. Like a lot of people are hopping on and they're joining the Love Academy, and it's so exciting. And again, if you are thinking about it, hop on a call. Like I just would keep saying it like that. And then I did create urgency though by the, oh gosh. Well, and this is your format. I think I ended up doing bonuses to that Tuesday. So it was like almost like a full like 7-8 days. Then I said, okay, we're going to end it with a fireside chat. And this is it. I mean, this is it. And I did say that I was closing the cart. And I did get some more bookings then. But there were some bookings that were like residual, right? Like maybe people who were on the fence, and then all of a sudden I would see somebody on my calendar. So I never closed the calendar. I closed the challenge.
Yes.
If that makes sense. So people still had it in their inbox, because I should say I have an email list, like I told you before, and I did have a copywriter help me so that I was constantly like in their inbox as well. So I was coming at it at both angles that way. So I think probably the later bookings came from people who maybe were just sitting on it, and thinking about it.
Yeah. And you said something that was really important. You said you kind of carry the momentum over. So when someone joins, you're like, oh, so many people joined the Love Academy. Would love to have you come and join us. How about hopping on a call to see if you're a good fit? And that's really, I believe, really important, because you can close cart completely, but what we do teach is make sure that that momentum that you have in between your bigger launches, you are constantly enrolling people into your program, and so that there won't be like a high and low moment. It's not going to be like a mountain, and then the next month, like the issues with a lot of coaches, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but it was a huge launch, and it would be one time a year, and then for the next 6 months they have to deliver, and it's like nothing, no income coming in, and then another big launch and no income after that. And that's such a that's an issue a lot of coaches have to deal with. But with this model, it's like, no, every single 6 to 8 weeks, you are for sure going to have a conversion event. And then in between, take that momentum that you got and spill it over into more calls, more bookings for the middle of your bigger launches. So what it does, I feel, is it gives you this peace of mind that with everything that you have, all your effort that you put in, that it's going to go somewhere, it's going to sit someplace where it's cohesive, and it's going to sit in your calendar in a way that gives you peace of mind that, okay, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to continue doing this. And every single time you will be able to get that influx of clients to enroll in your program, and you can serve them as you're moving along. And so another question I want to ask is, so you've tried other coaches, you tried challenge coach, and then you tried other coaches. I want to know, beyond, hey, this is what you have to do, like the format, what is it about the Coaching Inside Ignite that has specifically helped you move forward?
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying before. I think so much business coaching that's out there, other programs, and I'm not knocking it because I think it's super important, deals more with mindset and like philosophy and, things that I think are more bigger picture kind of things. And while those are super important, I was kind of beyond that. Like, I think it was almost more, like the operational stuff and putting things into place. Like, as I was saying before, I needed an action plan. And what Ignite was so good for is that it's not just putting things into action and mapping things out, but also the service that you deliver is just incredible. Like, all the people on your team, are just incredible, and they over deliver quite honestly. Like, you know, and I've been in other programs and you just get like one call per 6 months or something, you know, and you're just constantly there servicing people nonstop. And I think that that's what you really need to get to the next level. Otherwise, you're almost like, you just feel like you're a lone ranger. And that's how I felt. Like I was throwing darts in the dark, seeing what would stick. And now, to your point, I feel like I have a structure and an infrastructure to now keep going. Because this was my biggest fear, Kim, is that I'd be a one-hit wonder, to your point. Like, okay, I made it, woohoo, I created a great song, but now, like, how do I make a whole album out of this? Like, how do I keep going? And now I have the confidence that you'll help guide me to the next song, you know? And so that has been just so valuable. And it's not just the structure and the coaching, like the technology stuff, like you blow me away. Kim, this woman knows so much technology stuff. Like, I don't even know how you keep up. And to be honest, like to be in this space and just being ahead of the curve, I think is so important because there's so much noise out there. If you don't have your pulse on everything going on, you'll get lost. So I feel like I'm not lost any longer. Like you will always keep us up to date with everything. You know what works now, because what works 3 years ago does not work anymore. And you have to like keep moving.
Yeah. And I feel like the software CEO of the side of me, where I have software and I have subscribers to actual software that I own, it makes this program very different because I'm not only going to provide mindset and copywriting coach and all these other coaches, but also tech help, technology help. So if you get stuck or if there is something that I feel can amplify what you're already doing, then a team member that specializes in the technology will come in and help you just take care of the thing. Just take care of it so that you can move on and not feel paralyzed by, you know, oh, I just, that email thing didn't connect. So it's not going to work out for me right now. So what I admire about you, Kim, is when I'm like, hey, get another computer. Your computer's too slow. I'm like,
oh my God, that was a game changer. Oh my God. Wait, I have to share with you because that is really funny. It was such a metaphor to like being in a bad relationship. I had a really bad relationship with my old computer and I was staying in that relationship for so long. And Kim was just like, you know, your life would change if you just got a new computer. I'm like, oh yeah. Like it was I needed to hear that. It was great.
Yeah.
And now I have a healthy relationship with my new computer. It's so great.
Yeah. Great. And then you'll let it go if it starts like not serving you anymore.
Exactly. Or we might have to get some work done, right? Like we might have to do the work to keep it going. Yeah. No, but you know, the technology piece is something that I think is often overlooked in programs because you can work on systems and operations, but it's so true. Like I was a tech tard for the longest time. I did not understand a lot of this technology stuff, nor did I go to school for it. So it would literally paralyze me, some of this tech stuff. And that can like stop you from moving to the next level. Like, you know, even just, you know, hooking up the email stuff, your GroupConvert, you know, Chrome extension is just amazing. Like that's a game changer for my Facebook group. And the fact that you had someone just to go in and help me install it and get everything running, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. And you get those calls included, all of those as many as possible to get it fixed, to get it done. And I feel like if like these little pieces get in the way for you and you get frustrated, then I'm just giving up on you. You know, you're just like, I'm like, go and do technology. You're like, I suck at that. I'm like, oh
no. At least I admit it, right? Admitting it's always the first step. So, but no, and that's why I appreciate you, and then that you have other people on your team who have their area of expertise. Like, it's so great that you have like different niches for different elements of the business as well.
Yeah. like I see it as training you to run this marathon. It's not like I'm teaching you to do this one hit wonder. Again, I'm helping you build out your album
Yeah.
so that, it hits platinum and then gold and whatever, however the tiers are. And it does take a whole year. That's why our program is 1 year long, because now that you did your first one, how is your second one going to go? How is scaling going to look like? How is delivery going to look like? All of that is a year-long journey, and that's why we have it for a year. Right now, I'm specifically doing a launch for my Chrome bosses, but I wanted to bring you into while you're all excited, it's right after the finish of your first launch, to tap into the insights that you receive now and what works, what isn't working for you, because you don't have a group of, when you were pitching, like 1,000 people, right? Like how many people were in your brand new Facebook group that you were funneling people into?
Well, honestly, I did have a Facebook group already, but it was kind of dead. I mean, that was one of the things that attracted me to Group Ignite, is because I wanted a system on how to, just kind of groom my group and build it and all of that. So I wasn't doing much. So for all intents and purposes, I guess I didn't really have a group, because I didn't see any conversion. I would do a couple lives. I would do some shout outs at the end and say, oh, hey, book a call. But it just never stuck, Maybe in the beginning it did, and then it just kind of lost its luster, because always the same people are, the looky-loos that just kind of view and get their information and leave. But with challenges, it's so great because you're getting new people in the door. And my group grew so much just from that challenge. So I had almost 400 women in that challenge.
Yeah.
So that was huge. And so I got 400 new women almost in my group now. So it grew a lot.
Yeah, amazing. And I remember you were telling me like, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of scared. You said, oh, I don't know if it's going to be filled up. But you filled it up really fast. It was like,
yeah.
Oh, I already got 300 people in. Hey, it's so fun. And it's from inviting all the little pieces that are already out there and funneling everyone into one singular area where they can interact with each other. So, how long did it take you to go from like no pop-up group at all to, okay, I'm doing my launch, to, all right, I'm pitching, and then to, okay, I'm closing sales and bringing and enrolling my people into my program? Like, what was that timeline look like?
Yeah, actually, your team really helped me with that, because I think if I was left to my own devices, I would have delayed things, because in my head, I would have been like, I don't know this format. Maybe I'll wait till December. And you all were so good at, no, set a date. And that always helps me, at least, kind of light that fire. And I remember when I had set the date, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 weeks prior to that. So I think that's when, once I had started the date and I committed to that, then like it was a time clock, right? And then I started promoting it to my list, I would say 2 weeks out from the challenge.
Yeah.
So up until then, I was just kind of doing some prep work and learning the format and understanding also all the like moving parts. And I will say there was a lot more than I realized setting it up. But now that it's set, it'll be just like a machine, and you had said that. I remember that. You're like, I know this is a lot of work, but then once you have it, you have it. And then it's just changing it up a little bit. And so now I'll be more confident, definitely doing the next round. And I think in terms of who I promoted it to, so I did like shout outs on the podcast. I would do like themes that pertain to flirting on my podcast. So it made more sense with my call to action being that challenge. I my email list definitely had ones. But what was funny is that there were a lot of people who ended up buying this time around who have been following me for so long, or who I even had a breakthrough call or my sales call like 2 years ago. A lot of people who I had tried to sell before, I was able to convert this time. And it was simply because like that container was just so powerful. It tipped them over the edge. So both with cold people and people who I've like even talked to before.
Oh yeah. And there are those that went through your first challenge that are saving up their money to go into your next challenge and
yes,
not the second one, maybe the third one, not the third one. Okay. The fourth one.
Yeah, no, Kim, someone even told me that because she wanted to do it so bad. And then she called back. She's like, I'm just going to have to save up for the next one. So yes, they are going to do that, I think.
Yeah, there's a post that I recently did that says, hey, who are you and how do we know each other? Let me know, how do we find out about each other? And a lot of the people who commented are in my programs, and they're like, oh yeah, I started hearing about you then, and then I knew you have an offer, and then I started saving in January, and then your challenge opened, and then I got in, and I purchased there, because they know something is coming. They know that something is going to be opening and closing, and it forces them to say yes to, not force, but it enables them to say yes to themselves way more easily than if there was no, it was just like, okay, I have a webinar here. Okay. I don't know when I'm going to do it again. All right. It's like, for sure, there's this set pattern of them expecting that you're going to be helping them out. You're going to be available for that period. So I think that it's super powerful. I kind of want to speak to that a little bit more to say like, that's great, because there's a bunch of people probably saving up their money to get into your next challenge. So it could be bigger.
Yes.
So with that said, I want to now kind of approach like the closing of the interview, kind of at the end of the interview. So what have you learned being in Ignite that besides everything that you got, what are the things that you would like to, now that you have those tools, what does your future look like? What does the next year for Kim look like? And I want you to dream big and be able to tell myself as well as those who are listening, how is your future going to change now that you know what to do?
I'm going for the Grammy. I'm not going to lie. Like, I let that. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, no, I mean, using the music metaphor, it is kind of like that. So now I created a song that that speaks to people, and I want to keep building on that and put a system into place so that I have the confidence of something that's rotating throughout the year. And for me as a coach, I can't even tell you what a game changer that'll be for me, because I've never really had that. And then just helping me walk through what that looks like, just like, but hands-on, like that's what Kim and the team is so good at through this program. And you even did that with our last coaching call. Like, you're like, because I asked you, well, what happens after this thing? And you even helped me map that out before I even closed all these deals. So it also helped me in my mind knowing that, okay, like when this is over, I have a plan in place. So I just envision, where I have like this just kind of really well-oiled machine that just keeps on running. And within that, each time I do it, I know I'll have the support to modify it, to change it, to see like how I can make it better and that kind of thing. Because I know like if I was doing this on my own and your program was only like 2 months or 3 months, I'd get all excited and then I'd leave and then I'll feel like the Lone Ranger again, because it's hard to keep things going. And so that's what I really appreciate about the program.
Yeah. And so if someone's on the fence, and this is so GroupConvert Ignite, the reason why I created this program was because a lot of my group converters, software people who sign up to do $10 a month Chrome extension, connecting it, I felt like they needed something much bigger to help them, because they're not in there to get a Chrome extension to work. That's not their goal. They're in there to figure out this online journey as coaches, course creators, to serve their tribe. So that's their next step. So right now, you're one of the living testimonial for, hey, this is what you can do if you take GroupConvert, you apply the next level to it, which is what do you do to monetize with a Facebook group? Given all of the little pieces that you have around you, what can you do to bring it all together and make an extra 5 to 6 figures a month with your little pop-up Facebook group? And that pop-up group feeds into your main group at the end of the show, at the end of every single show, to keep on that growth. So if someone is listening on this training and they're like, or this interview, and they're like, well, I have GroupConvert and I have a group and I have all these things lying around, what would you tell them in terms of getting into GroupConvert Ignite, their next step? Or so let me know, what would you say?
I mean, that's what I would say. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I would say join Group Ignite, because it just took so much guesswork out of everything, especially if you have a lot of those pieces of the puzzle, but you don't have the whole picture of the puzzle. I mean, Kim and the team will help you put it all together to make you feel more confident, complete. And like I said, just having different aspects of the business to consider as you're building this out, it's just priceless. I mean, and for the price of the program, I still can't believe you offer it at the price that you offer, because I just think it's so valuable. It's beyond, the investment. It's just like, what you put into it is what you get out of it. And what I love about your program is you really push people to create that movement, that red dress moment that I was talking about in the beginning, like you hit people over the head with the red dress. That's how I see it, because I think what gets everyone stuck is that motivation, because you don't know what you're doing. And so when you have a team that knows what they're doing and holds your hand every step of the way, it really makes a difference.
Awesome. Man, I feel so flattered, but at the same time, I want to give you all the credit of just going at this full on, because the type of, and you are the client you attract. And if you go in and you go in full on, just like when I'm like, hey, you need another computer. If you are just like, screw you, Kim, I'm saying, if you're that type of client who's like, no, I'm not going to listen to you, but you were totally open-minded. I didn't even expect you to, I guide you, but I don't know what you're going to do really. I just say, hey, here you go. But you ended up saying yes to yourself over and over and over again. And so to see you go from like, hey, how do I do this? How do I put this together? To, oh my gosh, I just did $70,000 on my first launch. And oh my gosh, now the rest of the year, I know what I'm going to do. And you're going to be there to help me. But my future is so just vast now. I'm going to go for the gold. I'm going to go for that album. It's not going to be a one-hit wonder. I feel tingles right now. I'm just so excited and happy for you, because if you're thinking about joining Ignite, if you guys are on the fence, don't come in if you don't want to do the work. This is work. You have to put in the work. But if you're willing to say full on 100%, I'm going to do this for myself, then this would be a program for you. With that said, I want to now ask you, if someone were to be like, hey, I do need help with dating and relationships, and I'm a female and you help men too, where can they find you? What site can they find you on? How do they follow you after this interview?
Yeah, well, the easiest, just go to my site. It's KimmySeltzer.com, and I spell it KIMMY is Kimmy, and then SELTZER. And then actually all my social media handles are at Kimmy Seltzer, basically. And then my podcast is called Charisma Quotient. So you can definitely follow me there. And yeah, I mean, if you want to get in touch with me, obviously, Kim, you have my info if anyone wants to reach out to.
Yeah. And you know what, Kim, I was talking to one of my friends. He's like in the dating industry.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh yeah, I have a client who's also in the dating industry, and I was like, her name is Kim Seltzer, and he knew who you were. He was like, oh, I read her emails all the time, and I was like, wow.
Who is your friend? We'll have to talk who your friend is.
Yeah.
Well, our industry is funny, just probably like the tech world is, and the business, like it gets very incestuous at times. Like we all kind of know each other, especially here in California. But it's great. It's a very supportive community as well. And we all have different techniques and ways that we help people. And so I actually work with a lot of people in the dating industry. They'll refer to me, like other coaches refer to me, because normally people don't do the first impressions and shopping and flirting stuff. And so that's like what I'm kind of known for and where I start with people on, because that attraction factor is huge. It's something that's it's not taught. So I've been doing a lot of flirt workshops lately, virtually, and probably I'm going to do a master class in between my next challenge, and you and I can talk about this. But I think I'll do something around like flirting and dating and during the holidays, right? So that'll be super fun.
Yeah, and you can also, as a conversion event, do like a 2-day blitz instead of a 5-day challenge. You could do like smaller, but more frequently throughout the day, and more incentive for them to show up and live in that environment for like a 2-day span. So there's a lot of techniques we can go over as well.
Oh goodness, I'm in Group Ignite where I can talk to you about these things. Well, like this is the stuff I need her for, because like I need specifics, like what am I doing, how long, what do I charge, all of those things. So
yeah, I love it. All right, well, Kim, thank you so much for showing up today. And guys, if you need any dating and relationship advice, if you want to get coaching, go follow Kim Seltzer. She's been in the industry for quite a while. She knows her stuff.
Lady, I've been around the block.
I don't mean it to be, I don't mean it like that. I mean,
I know. I throw myself under the bus all the time with that. And honestly, like I'm proud of it, because I feel like I've gained so much knowledge, both with helping people, but also like now understanding just the whole business and coaching end of things too. So
yeah. And if you're interested in coming into Ignite, you guys, hashtag Ignite into the comments, and I'll be able to give you, first of all, notes on what we spoke about today so that you can see what works, what didn't work. Again, being in the coaching program is way better than getting notes, but at least you'll get notes to see, okay, these are the things that we spoke about that really worked out. Just like, for example, having the call to action for them to drop a picture of themselves. So now they can see each other visually inside the group. That was a great golden nugget. And there's so many things that you can do for yourself if you're trying to grow your group. This is not guesswork anymore. It is not if I'm going to succeed. It is, here's the formula, do the work, monetize your group, and change your people's lives. It's like that framework. And I'm so excited that this is only just the beginning.
Oh my gosh. Kim, can I just say something to end and just kind of piggyback what you said? And really, it's actually to promote you and your program. And I just want to thank you so much. Honestly, like I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Like I knew I loved you from the time I met you, and you just, I can't tell you how much this means to me for my business, for my family, like just having that like structure and confidence in your support. So I just want to thank you, first of all. And the second thing I'll say is, and this is what I said to my challenge group, and it actually is the same thing, that people in their dating life, they often get stuck because they're in the passenger seat. They're listening to a bunch of podcasts. They're gathering information. Maybe you're listening to this live and you're like thinking about things. But like, at what point do you move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat and actually drive and move and push the accelerator? That's what Kim's program is about. And I just think that that's usually that gap between the passenger seat and the driver's seat is where usually people get stuck. And so for me, when I moved over to really like accelerate things, like you showed me that path where to drive. And I just think that was such part of the value, is you helped me put myself into action.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you put yourself into action. So
well, I was driving, but you you filled the gas tank. You gave me the map. You know, you yeah.
The GroupConvert engine. Yes,
Yes.
the scaling engine. Awesome. Well, I feel your words, Kim. I love to just like for me when I go to sleep tonight, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, I just appreciate Kim so much for saying yes to herself, but also saying yes being in the program and not like veering off into some random direction. You said yes and you continuously say yes. And to me, I love that. You're one of my dream clients. You're just so easy to work with. You go and take such massive action. And thank you so much for showing up today. And I am very grateful as well. And yeah, I mean, that's it. That's the end of this.
Yeah.
Have a awesome night, Kim. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to click end broadcast and I will see you inside Ignite.
Thanks, Kim.
Bye.